It's not sauce. It's gravy. Bones. Fresh and buds now.
Fresh and
All right, folks. Welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh and Buds. I'm your host, Tommy Fresh, and you are all my buds. And this week we welcome back my bud, Dan Rutkowski. How's it going, my friend? What is going on?
Yeah, what's up, man? Not too much going on. Just playing a little Flesh and Blood here and there.
That's
Getting
good.
ready for Hartford.
Flesh and Blood's good. I mean, I like playing some Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
You're also, you're making some content too.
Yeah, it's going pretty good. Our podcast is a bit over a year of consecutive episodes, so that's pretty cool. I enjoy doing that every week. Otherwise, yeah, make some videos here and there. Not too much on my side there. More focused on like team management than anything, but yeah, I like the content.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're gonna make some banging content today, and
Great.
because I don't know. There's a couple things I've heard you say, and we've talked about together that I was just like, you know what, this is a good time to bring Dan back on to talk about it, especially with everything that's about to kind of change in the game, with a pending ban announcement, which I think is the 19th. I might have that date wrong, but it is sooner rather than later anyway. But we're going to talk about that, and I also want to talk about toxic decks and their place in this game, because they exist. There's no doubt about it, and you've played a couple. We'll call a spade, Dan. And
Very recently, yeah.
Yeah. But before we do that, we ran into each other in Scotland, which was crazy. Although it was in probably the most likely place for us to both run into it. It was at the Edinburgh Castle. But how was your trip? How was Scotland? How was your Pro Tour London experience?
Oh yeah, no, Scotland was fantastic. Like before we got there, we flew into London. We caught a quick Liverpool game in London, which was super awesome. Then yeah, we took the train. Very enjoyable ride down to Scotland. Lots of nice scenery to kind of chill out. Yeah, no, Scotland's great. It's like very much built around tourism,
Mm-hmm.
but not in a bad way. Like, I don't know what to compare it to, but like when I think of something touristy, it's like kind of lame and overpopulated. It was like not that many people there. You kind of could still feel like the original culture. I felt like there's still a ton of like nice nature nearby. My wife and I did a couple hikes. Just kind of walked around town was kind of our favorite thing to do. It's just like a lot of cool shops to go in and some really good food in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we had a great time. Scotland's awesome. What do you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. I went like maybe 15 years ago, poor college kid, and spent like 2 days there, like a big trip around all of the British Isles. And I remember just saying, I got to go back when I can really experience it, and did the honeymoon with the wife. It is, I know exactly what you're saying too about it being built around tourism, but it's more like just stuff they already had, I guess.
Mhm.
And they're just
Yep.
like, hey, people should actually be checking it out. And we were there in a good time of year, like kind of right before it probably gets a little bit busier too. But it was awesome, very cool to see you, of course. But you did play in London. How was that experience? How'd it go? Because I haven't talked to you about it yet, and I'm
Yeah, that's
interested
fair.
to hear.
Yeah, I mean the experience as always was like pretty incredible. I just love competing at the highest level and like being at the pro tour for as long as my run stays alive. Which was kind of short this time, but that's okay. Venue was fantastic. It was at the Expo Center. I think it's a pretty well known venue in London. It's like this huge mini mall. It's about a mile walk from one end to the other, which I have to do every day, but that's okay. I like the exercise. But that means you have like a dozen or so bathrooms within like a 2-minute walk. Lots of food options, lots of coffee options. So it was very ideal location, I think, from that standpoint. Tournament was run pretty good. It was the first time in a while that we had like I don't know about major hiccups, but at least like a bunch of minor hiccups at a professional level event.
Really?
Um, yeah, I understand it's like a different TO over there. think it's Living Realms. There's a couple weird stuff that went on. Like one of our teammates got dropped from the event,
Oh,
and then they put him into a draft pod, and he drafted, and then he got dropped again. Like it was very strange stuff going on.
that is so
Um,
weird.
yeah,
That's gotta be
there's a lot of like
stressful.
little stories like that. Um, More delays than we're used to.
Well, that is a little strange. I mean, that's the kind of wild thing when there's not kind of a homogenized like system for these kind of events. I'm glad only they were minor hiccups, but it did sound like a pretty great event overall. Now,
Mhm.
in terms of playing, well, going into the weekend, before we even get to what happened in the weekend, how did you feel about CC and draft? Because I know that you were playing a lot of a particular deck for quite some time until recently. We'll talk about that later. But
Sure.
how were you feeling going into that weekend?
Oh, is the deck you're referring to Zen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Zen thing was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I decided pretty early that, like, I'm just not gonna play Zen
Mm.
because I don't know what the actual number is, but it was probably like a 40 or so percent chance that he hits Living Legend,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just, like, committed all this time that I barely had anyway. So I kind of rolled him out, which is unfortunate. No, I didn't feel super prepared. I was going through, like, a job transition, so I just had, like, life stuff keeping me busy, so I knew I wasn't gonna be super prepped going in. So I landed on that was kind of why I didn't want to play Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like a bit too face up. I wanted to like find a deck that could give me edges because my play might not have been as good as usual given the lack of time. Which I ended up actually playing pretty well, I think. Like I don't think I made any like major misplays that I've maybe been prone to in the past when I get tired. So I avoided that. But I landed on Enigma using Refractor in a lot of matchups. Um, which I thought gave me an edge for like people not expecting it, not being practiced into it. The issue is that edge is only realized if your opponent doesn't draw well or like overly well. Because if they draw well, they just beat you up, and you're just like the silly guardian deck that can't really do much.
Yeah.
Which is how I lost the games that I lost. It was um, I lost to an Aura who like semi high rolled, like they just drew really well, and then an Azalea who like did 3 turns of 20 in a row, and like the deck has one play to counter that, and it's draw like 3D reacts in the same turn. And in both of those games, I like never cast the D reacts. I was took 2 early losses, and then I kind of fumbled the draft because I wasn't the most prepped, but I had like one of those really hard to navigate drafts where it's like, okay, I got this cool early strategy where I'm going to carve out a lane,
Mm-hmm.
and then immediately that lane was cut, and then I guessed the wrong deck to go into. So now I had this like okay Syndra deck where I'm like, this is fine. Like if I go second, my deck's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I think I can steal these wins. And then I went first every game, and I played 2 mirrors, and I lost those too.
That's very unfortunate. I mean, the draft that draft format did feel kind of tricky. How did you feel about it overall? Because I personally liked it, but I didn't get to play it as much as some other people did. But
Mhm.
to me, it still kind of pales in comparison to Rosetta Draft, which I actually really enjoyed. But what were your thoughts on that draft format?
Yeah, I found it really enjoyable outside of tournament play. Like
Mm-hmm.
local game store, I thought it was fantastic. Like there's high rolls, there's low rolls, so like gives everyone kind of a chance to win. Um, the like punishment for the draft kind of not going your way is less severe because there's no stakes. Where I do want to say like I didn't put enough time to like master the format, so getting good might have just been my issue. But for what I gathered and felt, it's like you're kind of just hoping to get either you're forcing from the start. I think either way, whatever your draft strategy is, you're hoping to get a little lucky with your seat.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to 3 out this format. It's like pretty high variance with um how you both draw. Like if someone draws 4 reds or 4 blues in a turn,
Mm-hmm.
they usually lose in this format. Um, so you're hoping to like get a powerful deck to kind of make up for that. Um, or land in one of these like 3 block heavy decks where if your hand doesn't play, you can block 12 and move on. Um, but you can only really get that many 3 blocks in this format if you're one of the 2 um, heroes in that deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so like I think a lot of people were trying to optimize around that by forcing to send the early signal because if you're the one of 2, you can have like a consistent deck, which is hard to do in this format. Um, and I
Yeah.
completely forgot where I was going with this, but that's overall thoughts. It's like kind of on rails, but it's also gameplay's pretty fun. The drafting's okay. I'm with you that Rosetta was a lot better, and I actually think Mistral was by far the best draft experience so far.
Yeah, Mistvale was pretty incredible too. I think I just preferred the flavor of Rosetta, and that's
The
just
gameplay,
kind of
yeah.
like pushes it
And
over the
Osili was
edge.
really cool in that set.
Yeah, yeah.
I think if I ever draft it again, I'm just forcing Osili every time.
Yeah, yeah. And it felt, I mean, the way I guess Mistvale felt that way too, that you can kind of pivot a little bit later than normal. Which I'm glad that they're kind of putting that at the forefront of the design, it seems like. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. But I do want to get your fresh faves for that set because
Hmm.
let's face it, you put yourself on the map with a different draconic hero,
Mhm.
little guy named Phi, and this is the return of Draconic Ninja, and
Yep.
also another deck that I would argue is almost more similar to Phi in some ways, in terms of the damage output with Fang. But
Hmm.
what was your favorite hero from this set?
That's a good question. Oh, it's for sure Arachne Marionette. Like it's not particularly close. I do kind of vibe with Fang. Syndra I never really like too much, but I love me some Arachne Marionette. In both limited and constructed. I think his position in the meta is sometimes a little not ideal, but I love like the balancing act of like threatening to mark and flip, but then also balancing like sometimes you want to just be marked, so you have your +1 and not flip. There's a lot of mind games you can play with your opponent. Yeah, I like that hero quite a lot.
Yeah, Marionette was a weird one where like on its face you would say, "Oh, this is just designed to be super fun. There's this variance of the flip and stuff like that." And then when it became a fully realized deck, you're like, "This presents so many decision points like
Hmm.
every turn, which is so cool." And it is interesting to me that Syndra's not even close in this conversation as the other Draconic Ninja. Is there any reason for that?
Yeah, I think I've kind of sadly grown past how like linear Draconic Ninjas play in my Flash of Blood experience. Because even back then, when I was playing the deck, like yeah, you just try to Art of War and like line
Mhm.
it up with spreading flames and do 40 damage. But throughout the game and the decks I were playing, there's a lot of like threatening these little on hits that made it interesting, like snatches and even like Soul Beat Strike was in one of my nationals decks. I think to like force your opponent to block. Where I don't know. I think in the more recent metas, when you're playing Draconic Ninja, you're just not blocking.
Mhm.
Your opponent's not blocking most of the time. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really vibe with Syndra's play patterns. I don't know what it was exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely, and this is something that LSS I think does really well, where it's different. It is very different than the other Draconic Ninja. I mean, it's the same sometimes, but those kunais and that whole
Mhm.
ability just changes the way it feels and how the opponent interacts with it. So it is kind of interesting. Now, what was your favorite weapon from this set?
Let me think. It's not the daggers, or sorry, it's not the Draconic daggers. What are the weapons?
We got Obsidian, Fire
Oh wait, the
Vein,
mark.
Kunai, and then Mark the
Hmm.
Huntsman, and then the
Oh, definitely. If it counts I don't know how to say it, man. The token dagger,
oh,
Graphene Chelicera.
yeah, yeah, graphing calculator.
Yeah,
Yes,
just little one attack for with stealth. That thing's insane.
that definitely counts.
Sometimes
Actually,
has go again.
um, yeah, that one's good. That one's cool. I don't love how difficult it is for me to pronounce it, but
Hmm.
listen,
Likewise.
gameplay, it translates quite well. Now, what was your favorite equipment?
My first instinct is the blood splattered vest. Despite not liking Syndra, I mean, I do think the play pattern of like flick a knife to get the resource and then play like a 1 for 7 that feels good. But I've enjoyed Aura quite a lot after this set. Um, even after the needle banning, so I like using that chest quite a bit. it like adds that consistency that you want in your aggro deck. If you're short $1 for your finisher, you can grab it. It also just gives you some efficient play lines with like up sticks. So
It's a great answer, and it's probably the best art as far as.
Oh wait, I
equipment
have to
goes.
take it back.
Oh no!
I apologize. No, it's got to be Dragonflight. What's it called? The Draconic boots.
The scalers. I think they're called scalers, right?
Scalers, Dragonflight Scalers, I think.
Oh,
That sounds right.
sounds right.
Anyway,
But then again,
swinging.
any foot or any legs could be scalers in this game.
Yeah, but swinging Searing Ember Blade twice in a turn sparks a lot of joy for me.
That makes sense. That checks out.
So I'll retro to that one.
Yeah, they're awesome and kind of like sneakily like really good when you see it. You're like, oh well, like, especially if Fang's playing it, right? And
Mhm.
like automatically, I want to assume that the dynamos are going to be put out there, and then when I see that, I'm like, oh, they're really trying to kill me. You know, this is like, you know,
Yeah.
not a back and forth. They're going all out, which is cool. Now, what's your favorite card to throw into your deck?
I think it has to be Dual Threat. It's what's that? What's the other yellow card that's just like Dual Threat? That cares about you playing one of each color.
Oh, Prismatic Leyline?
Yeah, it's what Prismatic Leyline wishes it was.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, I do
This
wish
card is like so
Prismatic
easy to
Leyline
pull
was
off.
better.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean sometimes it's decent. Like I thought Imprism was pretty smart.
Yeah, that makes sense. I really tried to make it work with Bolton shots and Riptide. It's
Yep,
like, what
makes
if
sense.
I could do at least 2 Bolton shots and then a red? Oh man, then you really cook. But yeah, dual threat's pretty sick. Really just shows up in a lot of different decks now, you know, and I feel like I have to read it every single time. I know what it does, but I'm just like,
hmm
it's really doing that, and it just feels super efficient. Now, I don't know if we asked this the last time you were here, but I ask everybody what class and talent they would be if they lived in the world of Wraith. What class and talent would you be?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I definitely answered this last time. Trying to think. I'm probably just like a adjudicator or something. Like quite the rules lawyer when it comes to games.
Yeah. Board games too? You're reading the
Oh
whole
yeah.
book?
Yep. Yeah. I'm very much of the stance of like if we're not playing by the rules as they're intended, like why are we even playing the game? It's like a waste of time otherwise. It's got no meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. It is always so frustrating when you like you're playing a board game especially and then you realize you were doing something wrong and you're just like we did that like 10 times.
Yeah.
Like there's this
Especially
game.
if it's like a hard co-op game and you like just won the final fight or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Oh man, I got to play the Dead Cells co-op game this past weekend, board game.
Okay. Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure the people I was playing with definitely were just making up rules at one point, and it was a really cool game. It really felt like the actual video game. If anybody wants to check it out, but yeah, I was like, oh man, we should have died. We definitely didn't beat that boss, but say la vie. Now, what is your GOAT set? Your greatest set of all time so far?
Just like overall, or in context of like.
So by whatever metric you want to do it, if you want to give me one for limited, one for constructed, one for aesthetic, whatever
that
you
sounds
want to
good.
do.
Yeah, I'd say Partha Misfail is like by far not close. Best limited set in my experience or opinion. I think it mostly comes down to um, how plentiful the blues were and how powerful they were.
Mhm.
Like having blues at the power level of reds just fixes all the issues with most draft sets that you're like sacking consistency usually for power, or you just can't get consistency. And like 26 blues and 4 reds was a playable deck in this format, and I love that. You're just never gonna miss pitch, which is great. It's also like the set where they introduced all of the best changes to limited for Flesh and Blood. That's where they set the 30 card limit, and I forget what else, but that's for sure the top there. I think like overall set, I still have Uprising as like maybe the GOAT set. It felt like a big turning point in like the history of the game for like getting a lot of people in.
Mhm.
This was like right when I feel like the game first went on a lot of Magic players' radar. Um, and you had these three like really appealing heroes where you have one who's just playing Magic, like instance
Yeah.
in Icelander, one who's playing permanence in Dromai, and then you have like the red deck wins aggro deck in Fi. Um, and helped out like Fi was clearly modeled after Zuko from Avatar. Like I just think that set was so sick. It was our first dragon set. Um, the first, I think it was the first time we got marvels in the game too, right? At least,
Yes.
mm,
Well,
was that
technically
Rutkowski before that?
Starvo was a Marvel, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think it was the first time they were calling them Marvels, and
Yeah, I think it was like the first time they were like prevalent in the sets.
yeah,
So
yeah, and those dragons, like, honestly, I'm sure Dromai still would have been popular, but like the fact that, and like the illusionists always get to do this for whatever reason, they always get the swag, but you
Yeah.
know, maybe they just know. LSS knows that the illusionist players want to, bling out their deck. Makes sense to me. That's a good answer. Uprising's a good one. Didn't love limited there, but obviously,
Yeah.
part the misfail. I think since part the misfail, we've had a lot of great limited as well. Good answers. Good answers. But now we have to talk about the future, not the past,
Okay.
Dan. Because a lot of shifts have been happening and constructed. We lost some heroes, 3 heroes in the past, I think, month maybe. I'm correct? Yeah,
That sounds right.
3. Yeah, that's 3. And we're getting a ban announcement, I think, on the 19th. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
I think that's
Comment
right as well.
below.
That's my expectation at least.
Yeah, and that was mentioned in the dev talk with James White and Brian Gottlieb. And they did say, they confirmed that things will be shaken up, right? They confirmed that. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's going to have anything to do with the current state of the game that we're experiencing now, or something they anticipate with the release of High Seas coming out, a la, not Dawnblade, Dustblade getting banned ahead of Tales of Aria. We don't know exactly what's going to be banned, but guess what? We're content creators, so we're going to pontificate and make wild claims, or claims that make sense. So I got to ask you, do you have any predictions of things that they want to ban?
I
Rather
have so many
than
predictions.
like, what you want to ban. We'll ask what you
Oh,
want
that's
to
fair.
ban.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I honestly wish they didn't make that like semi announcement that there will be bans. Because now I just like don't want to play the game until like that happens. Because it's just how I work mentally. It's like I feel like I'm playing in a fake meta because it's not going to look the same for nationals. But that's just like a me problem. I'm sure not everyone thinks that way. Um, but I don't know if a shakeup means like, are they going to unban cards? Like maybe they're giving us back blue CYB, like some people are saying, because now we're getting more graveyard hate to deal with it.
Yeah.
Or are we banning CYB because it was a mistake? Like I have no idea what they're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, CYB is the kind of interesting thing here, because this past weekend was the last weekend of ProQuest, and I'm pretty sure like CYB new was winning a decent amount of these ProQuests, from at least what I saw on Blue Sky and just other Discords talking about it. I even tuned into some live streams, and I was like, oh, I'll tune in for the finals, and it was a CYB new mirror, and as I think some people love watching that mirror. I didn't really love watching Oldham mirrors, so this is not really, it wasn't really my cup of tea. But CYB is such an interesting thing, because they have kind of said in the past they don't think it's as much of a problem as some other people do. And when
I think they've said that they like it.
Yeah,
actively.
they like it, which I understand that maybe some life gain, like there is a cost to playing the cards in that deck, or a deck that is playing them, but it can be a little bit boring, and a game I don't think should be so boring sometimes. Do you think that they've changed their tune at all, or are they just perhaps giving us blue CYB back, which would be crazy?
I mean, I think it really comes down to there needs to be counterplay.
Mm-hmm.
Like if having 9 CYB in a deck, or 6 even, means that this deck just cannot win when they start shuffling, like that's kind of a problem. There needs to be like reasonable tech cards they can play that make enough of a difference. So I think it's just a question of like whether LSS feels that exists or not
Mhm.
would kind of dictate if they ban or unban CYB. I don't really know. I have
It
no idea what they're thinking.
it is a little tough because so it's kind of funny. There are like actual answers of like getting it out of people's hands and making them not be able to play it, but that is totally wiped away when you looked at the fact that it is a instant and you have a opportunity to play it out, you know, if you have the resources before the weakest link hits or, you know, sensor hits, yada yada yada. So I'll be interested to see if High Seas gives us anything, and if they do, I think that we probably won't see CYB Blue come back, but they might test the waters to see how the new interactive stuff plays. It will be interesting. Now, the question is, in terms of these bans, what do you want to go or come back?
Ooh, I don't know if I want anything to come back. I think I know a lot of Ninja players are calling for Pawns to come back. I think that's crazy.
Yeah,
That card
no.
is just like so unreasonable. What do I want gone? I think it would be nice if Scepter Florian just didn't exist. I'm kind of on board with that. It's just like not enjoyable. Like it's just so polarized. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like the CYB thing I was saying. Like some decks are going to sit down and they just lose the game as soon as they reveal their equipment. That's not very fun. And he also creates these like really unenjoyable game states where like you need to like play evergreens to now counter fatigue them or start
Mhm.
playing remembrances against their remembrances and or like play like Zen state type effects. I forget that there's like one in Wizard you can play um to block their rune chant stack. And
Yeah.
then in the mirror, what are you guys doing? Like you both have a stack of rune chants and a hat that stops all the rune chants. Like the game doesn't end. You just tie. Like I don't know. I don't I'm good with him not existing. My number one choice for being banned is always going to be Codex of Frailty.
Oh wow.
Um
It's all
yeah,
we
I think
have in
they're gonna like
Riptide.
double down and reprint it more likely, but I don't know. I just think it trivializes so many games, just having like a one card play that makes up an entire turn cycle.
Yeah, it is a good card. Um, listen, I don't want it
Oh,
to
I
go
see.
away.
You're saying from a Riptide standpoint.
From Riptide standpoint, like there are decks where it is unfair, and there are I
Mhm.
think there's decks where Codex feels totally fine, right? I mean, not fine, still feels very powerful, but
Yeah.
it's not game breaking. But it's kind of hard to balance that when it is two classes, and
Mhm.
you know, there's a lot of assassins now, and there's about to be another ranger. Although Azalea will probably leave soonish, maybe. But yeah, that is kind of an interesting one. I don't know if they will. I mean, that'd be kind of funny. Just another book to add to the book burning, except a lot later. As long as they don't get rid of the other two codexes, I'm happy. But I'd be interested to see about the scepter though, because
Mhm.
it feels like a way more consistent, and this is probably just true, a way more consistent version of the OTK Vis ride that we used to see a couple years ago when that was their plan against like Oldham, right?
Mhm.
And it wasn't very interactive, but like it really was only for that kind of matchup, and you kind of played the regular Viscerai thing. Otherwise, I mean, you could try to do it wasn't a super consistent version of the deck, but yeah, the scepter thing's crazy because even playing normal Florian, I feel like you can still build up some rune chance and then just win. I mean, that's how you beat me at the PQ a couple weeks ago. You're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I can't attack Riptide. I just need to build up and win. And good
Right.
on you on that. That was very smart and it was fun.
Thanks.
But yeah, I think Scepter could be the real play though.
Well, I think the real way to hit that is to ban Rebound Carapace.
Oh wow.
Because then they can't decompose without attacking,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
means they can't stack rune chains. At least not to start the game.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think they're trying to ban any D reacts, right? Like,
I think they could ban all the D-Reacts like they did with
oh yeah,
Project Blue. I mean, that's what I would actually like. A major shakeup to me is like book banning. Maybe we're finally hitting some D-Reacts, but I don't know. We just printed a couple promos of Sync Below, so probably not.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe
That's
Favor Scene gets hit. I think having 9 generic block fours is just ridiculous because now a deck like Florian comes in and he can play. I think he has like 22 4 blocks or something. He has access to.
yeah, yeah. It's a decent amount. I mean, that is pretty ridiculous. And yeah, I wonder about Project Blue, if that's testing the waters for the Blitz replacement or the Blitz shakeup, or if it's even just a testing the waters for what else they can do in other constructed formats, because that would be interesting. I don't know about the Sync Below. I mean, it would make sense to kind of print Shelter from the Storm and replace another like a Favor Scene. That would make a lot of sense. It just has similar utility and really wouldn't change a whole lot, to be honest, because not a lot of decks are playing all the copies. Some decks,
Yeah, but now the decks, I guess,
yeah,
I want to play 6, so you have to spend another $300 instead of your
yeah, that's true.
dollar Favor Scenes. So I don't know. They probably won't ban any DRX here. Well,
Yeah.
generic ones, I should say. I do think Carapace is on the chopping block,
Yeah, you think
at least
so?
in red.
Yeah, just the red one, you think?
I mean, it's a way to hit like both sides of Florian,
Mm-hmm.
and it really does hit Brune Chant stacking Florian pretty hard, I think.
It is a lot of value when you really think about it, because it is almost always a 0 for 4 D-React. And the amount of value you get from turning Florian on is very good. The question is that going to really hurt Verdance? Not really sure. Last week was the Wizard episode.
Probably.
This isn't. It would hurt Verdance. But
Yeah.
um
Speaking of Wizard, though, I think Kano's the real target for this ban, I would hope. Like, Kano has to get hit,
you think?
in my opinion.
What's
I mean, a lot of people are taking the stance of like they should just let him ride out, but I think this is like one of the most degenerate decks the game's seen so far.
I mean, would you even call it toxic, Dan? Because it is a good deck.
Probably. I don't know. Yeah.
It operates on this one axis that no other deck is working on right now. What would you do to the deck to change that?
I just think Floodgates is like kind of a big issue. Like they could finally do the thing and hit Wildfire. I hope that they don't.
Yeah.
I'd rather just see them pull back the amount of extenders you have access to, because your Wildfire can hit for like 1 or 2 now, and you could just chain together like 6 Floodgates and Overflows, and you still deal more than 40. Like it's fine. It's just ridiculous. And like they gave you Will of Arcana this set, which I think is actually a really cool card, but it's just so easy to kill every deck from 40, regardless of how much AB or prevention they have.
Yeah, it is. It can be very frustrating, and like I don't want to dunk on the Kano players, because like it is a fun deck. I totally get it, but the extra draw, I understand you lost the book. I've already forgot the name since the banning, because I haven't been thinking about drawing too.
8th or something.
Yeah,
That one I do think they could maybe unban.
Unban that
If they
and
ban
get
some
rid
other
of,
cards.
What about Flood? Ban Flood, unban Tome?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's like it's class specific draw. It's like somehow not as oppressive as Floodgates, I think, because the Floodgates is dealing actual damage while extending and like replacing itself, where with the Tome, like you need to either stack your deck or still draw 2 blues. I don't know. I'm not that much of an expert on game. I've just been playing it for like a couple weeks now. But it's just wild, man. Like you can double Oasis their Wildfire and it still deals 1, and then they just chain a bunch of spells and you die anyway to double blazing at the end. Like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. It is, this kind of weird thing where you just feel like you have to race them and hope they don't have it. Which is, I guess, fine. Like that's always kind of how, like, I've beaten Kanos with decks that I've played, mostly Riptide. Just like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to deal with all this, so I'm just gonna race you and see what happens. But for other decks, that can be very frustrating when normally you would just have like these outs to Wizard. So
Mhm.
interested to see. I didn't even think about Kano getting hit.
Yeah, they honestly might just have like energy potion. Because the issue right now is that like most decks in the meta just can't go fast enough to pressure you. So you just like do whatever you want and you just play a potion every other turn, and eventually you have like 2 to 3 pots and a deja vu or two, and now you can kill from any number.
Yeah. Oh, nice CYB. I'm gonna kill you from
Yeah,
however much you gained.
it's whenever the Kano gets bored, they they kill you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll be interested to see. We'll know in a week. It looks like we're
Mhm.
recording on Monday. You will all know sooner than us. But there's going to be a lot of changes regardless. We lost Zen, we lost Enigma, we lost Aurora. There's going to be a ban. So a lot of changes in a very short amount of time. Plus, there's a new set coming out very shortly
Mhm.
before US Nets. How does that make you feel?
Very shortly, it's the day of.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the night before, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. I thought it was the week before. Is it not?
Oh no, I think it's the day of. Well, so pre-release is the week before,
Okay.
and product will be available if you're lucky
Yeah.
at pre-release.
That's
But the set
stressful.
release is, I think, on Friday, the day that Nationals is played.
I'm not sure. I just know it's a short turnaround no matter what. If
Yeah,
it's a week or the day before, it's going to be tough.
yeah.
How does that make you feel? Are you just gonna? I mean, this is like the ban announcement is probably going to be the marker of what a lot of people are going to decide on.
Yeah, and I really wish they would have just given us that info if they already made the decisions, but I feel terrible about it. It's like it's so as someone who manages a team, like it's very stressful. And
Mm-hmm.
we've been very fortunate that we partnered with Guild of Avid Games now. Like they don't even have a clear answer of like how much product they're gonna have. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping to get my product from them or like my other local stores, but no one knows what they're getting or the stores that are getting. It's like way short. So like I don't know. They just introduce so much risk, I feel like, by doing a release day event. And I guess from their perspective, it's fine. Like they get the good marketing either way,
Mm-hmm.
at the expense of like the competitive players, which I don't love, but I think it's fine. Like they put up insane prizing and great events. Like
Yeah.
it's okay if the players have to take an L for them to push the game, but I don't know. It just sucks. Like I don't know if I currently don't have a plan to get cards because I'm waiting to hear from a couple local stores on their allocations. And then it's possible I wait too long and now I can't go to like Hamal, who would be where I'd usually get my singles from. So I might just have to like play a deck that I can't get the cards because I can't get cards for a different deck. There's also like no time to learn the limited format. Like we have to learn 2 formats in a week. Like I don't know.
It's it's trial
It
by
is what it
fire.
is.
I mean,
Yep.
so from my perspective, I understand it's very tough. The availability of cards is going to be the biggest issue. I'm less concerned with the idea of like making people learn it really quick and like see how like these really good players adapt to that, right? I think that's part of being a good player. I understand preparation is important too, but you know, it's exciting. It makes people excited about the set. I understand that. But if people like don't have the cards to play those heroes like during the constructed rounds, I don't know if it like what you said is going to matter. Like, will the marketing be there? Because I I could speak for a lot of people. I think I would love to see Gravy Bones being played in constructed that first weekend and see how it plays by some of the best players in the world, right? Or at least in the US because it is US Nats. Um,
Mhm.
but it's very difficult to see it because I know there's a lot of questions about the allocations. I don't know if that has anything to do with what's going on in our country right now, and it kind of sucks it's a little bit out of LSS's hands, and it's more on the distributors and what's happening. But either way, it can be very frustrating. But I hope it gets all cleared up. Now, speaking of something else that's frustrating, and what I really wanted to talk to you about is that I didn't really give Zen a proper goodbye on this podcast because I think I was
Okay.
a little bit more focused on Enigma going because I was more, thank God, another illusionist gone, and sorry to the illusionist fans, just how I feel. But Zen didn't get a proper goodbye, but you put a lot of hours into that hero. I know
Mhm.
you have. And dare I say, towards the end, you might have been a little bit tired of the deck. would you consider a deck was a little bit toxic in how it played?
I don't think so at all. Like at the end,
Mhm.
I mean, certainly from at the beginning, it was
Yeah.
it was extremely toxic. Like your opponent's just trying to have a nice, friendly flesh and blood game, and you're killing them on turn two.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think it was in a good state at the end. I could see from like the couple of decks that really got hosed by Zen State how it would feel toxic because Zen State's pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think he was pretty chill at the end. I love that he hit exactly 1,000. He kind of just crawled his way to the finish line. It was tough for him at the end there. It was not a good meta.
Yeah. You know, he had like such a storied run. You know, it kind of hit that nice 12-month. I mean, both Enigma and Zen hit that kind of 12-month that Brian and James had just talked about. Kind of what they shoot for at a minimum. That's why the Aurora thing is a little bit shaky. But hitting that 12-month, but it's fair to say it was 3 different decks in those 12 months. It was the first really busted deck that, you know, I think it was your teammate Dalton who had that game on on US Nats. It was US Nats, and it was like 3 Art of Wars. Was that? Am I remembering that correctly? It was just like the most insane display of Zen.
Yeah, I think I was actually standing behind him when that happened. I think I was watching like the stream area. We saw like the first Art of War turn into another Art of War. We're like, oh my god. I forget how the second one or the third one came up, but it was. I just like walked away as soon as I saw the third Art of War come up. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes this happens. It's just like a casino deck, man. Because he also had like Orion was legal. I was playing the sidearm, the offhand rather, that lets you discard a card to draw.
Oh, Ornate Tessin.
Yeah, I was playing Tessin just to like full casino this deck because you can break your boots, filter it. If your Art of War whips, you can filter it with that. It's like
Yeah, I
that
mean,
was very toxic.
oh yeah, I mean that was insane. And then we got the Bond. Was it the Bonds ban out? No. Bonds was with
Bonds happened between Nats and Pro Tour.
yeah. Bonds was yes, the blue and yellow Bonds, right? Or no.
Right.
Yeah. And then they just had red, and then the red got hit with the books, and or the red Bonds was, and that was the final big change to Zen, and then that's where the speed run kind of came to a halt, right? And then we had Rosetta, and eventually made his way. So, you know, what do you think we could learn as players? And what do you think LSS could learn from the storied journey of Zen?
I can't possibly come up with a good thing for them because I don't know their process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like from this side, it just seems ridiculous that you could possibly print Traverse as a block 2 and print a hero that searches his deck every turn and then be surprised when people search their deck every turn for the most broken combo card that exists. Like, I don't know. I can't put myself in that mindset, but I think the choice they made with the book banning shows like that they did learn. Like, I think that was incredibly healthy for the game. I think we've enjoyed very healthy metas since then as a result. I think the current one maybe is not the case. But I think it like absolutely fixed the game. We're heading down like a dark path there. Where like more power creep, I guess, was the other answer. What can we learn as players? We shouldn't share these things when we find them in our content. We should keep it secret so that we can actually play the decks we practice at the Pro Tour.
Yeah. That would make some sense. And then, you know, let them deal with it after, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, we do want to see big splashes at these tournaments, right? And that is a tough thing to kind of balance.
Oh, I wish we got to play with needles.
Yeah.
Sorry, total segue there.
Oh, man. I mean, like, that's another thing, right? I mean, I think it's probably for the best, right? You know, for the best for the game, but there is something exciting about somebody showing up with something that people haven't really discovered yet. But that's the tough balance with content and doing stuff for the game. It's just inevitable. But it's easy to say that these decks like Zen were very toxic at the beginning, and even a little bit after that. We saw how good it can be. Didn't win that Pro Tour in Amsterdam, but it took
I think
something.
the winning.
What was that?
Sorry, I think there was a more toxic deck in that set.
Oh, Enigma or New?
New.
Yeah. Well,
and the result of the bonds ban was that like you just really couldn't be new anymore unless you high rolled.
Yeah, yeah. And now, I mean, New's the last hero from Misfail here, and looking to be kind of seemingly at the top of the meta. Not really sure, but playing CYB very efficiently. Is this the new toxic deck to deal with until New eventually leaves and we just say goodbye to Misfail forever?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I feel like toxic strong for all of these decks, but
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of toxic decks in this meta depending on what deck you're playing. I just feel like every deck has these like overwhelmingly polarized matchups where they have these like 90%ers, and then the same decks have a couple 10%ers. Where if you're like, I don't know, if you're like um, Florian or who else has good matchups? Like Ira even. You love to play against Neo because it's fine. You block, you get your 2-card play value, and they slowly die. Where other decks, you just like picks you apart and you fatigue out. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of that I think going on currently, where it's like these decks are just hard countering each other. Like Kano, I think is by far the best deck in format. But then you pair into Prism, and there's just like nothing to do. You just lose.
Yeah.
They have to like mess up pretty bad for you to have like a chance to combo kill them if you get lucky. Yeah.
And how do you feel? I mean, like, what can they do? Like, are there bans that we can do to kind of get away from these polarized matchups? It's okay, I think, probably to have some polarized matchups. Like, it's just bound to happen, right? Like, there's just so many different heroes, so many different classes, but like we're seeing so much of it at the top, and it feels like that is the big difference maker here, as opposed to when it would be the bottom of the barrel. Now, I love the bottom of the barrel; it's my favorite place to be. But there's difference in people's opinions about a meta when it's there and not at the top.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like it's completely natural that these polarized matchups are going to exist. Like the hero pool is huge, and it should exist that way. Like you should be able to bring Riptide into an aggro dominated meta and just block with your traps, and then they lose.
Yeah.
Like that's great. But yeah, to your point, like I think because we don't have that like dominant aggro deck that can like keep up with these degenerate like stall strategies or um things like that. It's like I don't know. I guess the top decks, there isn't really one that has a decent matchup spread against everything. Like,
Yeah.
so you're kind of just like intentionally polarizing your matchup so that you can target this one or two decks, but then you're kind of sacking the other two. So I don't know. I in my head, this is what LSS is thinking when they're saying they're shaking up the meta. I think they're aware that maybe this is the current shape of it. I don't know. It's kind of strange, and we really don't have like the meta solidified, right? Like we're kind of just figuring it out, and then there's a new set, so it might not even matter. But for me, I have no idea what to play this weekend because everything feels bad depending on what you play against.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're headed to Hartford, which should be fun, But yeah, you mentioned that the lack of an aggro deck, that's the kind of big hole that Aurora's left, in the meta by leaving. Fang seems to be doing well, and that could be the de facto aggro deck, but it is a warrior, and there's just natural predators to that, and that could be the real issue. So there are a lot of questions, a lot of weird matchups, a lot of fun stuff as well. I think that there's really some interesting stuff going on, but Excited to see where it goes and how High Seas changes it up. Do you have any hot takes on High Seas before we go to some listener questions?
No, I'm not really one to speculate. What's his name? Gravy Bones does look pretty strong already. Ranger is what we're probably most expecting something to get hit because she looks very strong too. I'm most excited. I shouldn't even say that. I want to be excited that the mech will be good, but I have pretty heavy doubts given how recent mech support has gone.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it is not boost focused, so that's cool. I think that's like a nice little departure. So we'll see. Gravy Bones, not really sure. Does seem pretty good, like it can be. Hopefully not so good that we're just dealing with allies all the time. But Marlin has the most upside with things like Three of a Kind, etc. So we'll see. Very excited. We do have listener questions though, folks. These come from the Buds Discord, free for everybody to join. And it's in the show notes below. First one comes from William from the Table Pit, who it didn't really ask a question, but said a statement. It's so sad that they had to ban both Scepter and Reaping Blade. Why do you think they would do something so controversial yet so brave?
And they really might.
And Reaping Blade?
Oh yeah, I think Reaping Blade has potential to be banned.
That would be crazy.
I mean, like Florian's clearly the best deck, right?
Yeah.
He's like clearly the most sturdy. Up there at the top in terms of power level. He just has some weak matchups like Kano and Azalea. But I can see both. I can see Grasp being banned too.
Grasp. Holy moly.
It's very ban worthy. I don't think they'll do it.
Yeah. So if Scepter and Reaping Blade goes, what do you have?
You have Nebula Blade?
No.
You have Galaxia Black? You don't have Nebula. No. Right? Is that out of CC?
Because I don't know. That's got to be Viscerai's weapon, right? So you have Dread Sight.
I have no idea. You have Dread Sight and Galaxia Black.
Galaxia Black was Shadow, was it not? I think that's gone with Chain anyway.
Might be?
Yeah.
Weird.
So I think you only have Dread Scythe and the very weak replacement for Rosetta that was in the draft set. I'm already forgetting the name of.
Oh, Rotwood
Reaper.
Oh yeah, that thing's pretty good.
It's I mean it's a kind of Hexagore. You know, kind of like a romping club of sorts. So yeah, that'd be interesting. Reaping Blade, man, I would love to hear the Rune Blade fans react to that one.
I think just like not having a one cost weapon is the point there probably.
Yeah, most likely. Next question comes from Junior, who asks, are you and your brother in a shonen anime rivalry, and are you worried he's going to banish you to the Shadow Realm?
I don't think we are, no. We're pretty cooperative when we play. Yeah, I always like getting a top 8 pick with both of us in it. It's always fun.
Yeah. My brother's cool. I like seeing him at events. Sigma asked, how do you feel about aggro decks like Aurora, Phi, Zen having access to a fridge? Should heroes like this have less than 40 life to compensate for these fridges going forward?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer those separately. Aurora's fridge was too good, which is constantly a Rune Blade issue because they already have these cards. That's like, I think our last podcast, we talked about this a bunch. Rune Blade just has the best equipment in the game. And so we get a Rune Blade, it's going to be one of the best heroes in the game. Unless you're Vincent. And your hero power just is actively bad for you. Phi, I don't think Phi has a fridge at all. Like, if you have a fridge, you're playing Furnace and you're giving up Tunic, which is like a big deal with Belittle gone. And Flame helps a lot, but you can only play 3. You can't block with your hat because that's your damage. You can't block with Chuko because that's your damage. Like, I don't think Phi has a fridge at all. You have like a one-time bailout fridge. It's not like Zen where you're like blocking to get the like win the game cards. It's like you're blocking or you're winning the game. And then Zen was just like a like part the misspell issue. Like if Zen didn't have 7 block, he would be terrible in that set, and he would have just like absolutely dominated. I think, um, or maybe not because then Zen would have been that popular, so the whole meta shifts. But it's weird. I think Zen needed exactly 7 armor to exist in that set.
Yeah.
Um, but giving him 7 armor was not
Yeah.
the answer. So I don't know. Maybe Zen could have had less health. That's fair. I could buy that. Zen should have less health to make up for it. I don't know how you fix Rune Blades. Just accept that they're the best. Like I don't think Aurora was too good. I think Aurora was perfectly fine. And
Just
please don't
popular.
hurt Fi anymore. He's already like so far down.
Yeah. Yeah. Why so close to crossing the finish line too? I mean, like not that close, but like close enough that like just like 2 good weeks of a pro quest feels like it would just do it. So maybe we just all agree, do it one day. But last question comes from Capolo, who asks, which class would you have made as a pirate that isn't the 3 that we are getting, Mech, Ranger, and Necromancer?
I would have made a Rune Blade pirate.
What?
I like the broken things.
Oh my god. Brute pirate. Damn.
Makes no sense whatsoever, but
yeah. I mean, yeah, Rune Blade.
Maybe Brute.
Yeah, I mean, Brute would have been cool just thematically. It just would have made sense. Like every pirate ship's got a big old hulking, pirate.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, I don't think there'd ever be a Rune Blade pirate. That's kind of weird.
yeah. Yeah, I think Necromancer's probably the more like magic-y stuff they go with that. But Runeblade would be wild. I mean, listen. We don't know how good the actual pirate stuff is yet. I mean, some of the
and the cards we've seen are really good. Like
they
all like cycle themselves and do something.
Yeah. Should be interesting. I wonder if we'll get like I have to imagine we'll get like just a plain old pirate at some point. That would be kind of fun. I'm surprised we didn't get that at all yet. But that's going to do it for the show. Dan, thank you again for coming on. Always love seeing at events, playing against you, and talking to you. Can you please plug everything you'd like to plug?
Sure. I'm gonna forget stuff. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at DiscOpDan. You can find more of my thoughts on the Runaways podcast, either TCG Runaways or Runaways podcast on YouTube. Shout out and thank you to our sponsor, Guild of Raven Games. If you're in the New Jersey area, be sure to check them out. Tommy and I play there frequently. It's an amazing store. We just launched on Metafy. If you want to play a really innovative and somewhat goofy flooring list that plays, what's this card called? Blue Strength of 4 Seasons. And check it out. It's got deck has incredible results despite that card being in it, and that card's actually really good.
I'll check that. Were you playing that against me the other week? I feel like that card was in there. Deck, and you beat me.
It's a 2-cost 6, and it's blue. It's great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Give it to Brute. Damn it. But please check all of that out. Check out Guild of Raven Games if you're a fan of the show. The owner, Bob, has been on the show a while ago. He's, a maniac, but he's awesome. We love him. And finally, you can find me everywhere. But mostly at Hartford this weekend. I'll be probably looking a little bit different for people who know who I look like. And then check out the Buds Discord, the Blue Sky. Give it the old like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast I do with my cousin. We do that weekly as well. And finally, some food that I want you to shout out to me right now, Dan.
Yeah, I'm just running it back. Same thing as last time. Curry Zone, right next to Guild of Raven Games. It's like a 30-second walk in the same mini mall. Yep.
I get it every single time I'm there.
Same.
It is really good, and we don't have time for Charmer, but I'm sure we'll get to him eventually. Everybody, stay fresh.